right, now the microphone seems to be working.
Glowing like the metal on the edge of a knife.
No, we're not. Yes, Corey.
Wait, isn't that what we're doing? We're not doing Paralyzed by the Dashboard Light today?
No, we are not.
Oh, we're doing Lori and Corey Cole.
Yes, well, Corey and half a Lori Cole. Yeah, there we are. Well,
and it's the end, just about, of 2023.
It's the end of the year as we know it. And I feel fine.
Yes, you do.
Yes.
And we're glowing like the metal on the edge of a knife.
No, we don't.
Oh.
Yes, that's a different song, different meaning, all together now.
It's a great song, though.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Meatloaf. Should all listen to it. Okay, yeah, so we're here to kind of wrap up the old year and bring in the new.
Yeah. For all you people who had nothing better to do on this winter day, yeah.
And Valiant Cheese is in and out, just like Meatloaf. But I wanted to make sure that he at least drop by to wish everyone a lovely start to 2024. Oh, yes, it's New Year's Eve where you are.
Yeah, Happy New Year's.
It's early in the morning on New Year's Eve, so
well,
thanks for dropping by.
Yeah, thanks a lot. We really appreciate seeing you. I hope everybody is having a fine day today. I hope you have a good New Year starting out like this. Okay.
I got up early, and Lori called me a fool for getting up too early when I've been a little bit ill, but just a bit of a cold.
I've been watching One Short Eye's nearly 2-hour video. Wow, that's a long video. Conquest of the Longbow.
One Short Eye.
Glad he indeed got a hold of both of you for your cameos. Ah, yes. Ah, you're seeing the new version. It's up already. Wow.
That's pretty cool.
That is very cool. Yes, we did our lines.
Yeah, we just we sort of did it together and figured they can break it apart.
Yeah, well, because that's the way we talk anyway.
But we did give them a little bit of a pause between lines, so I think a good recording engineer would have no problem with it.
That coddle video is huge. I'm only partway through it. Yeah, well, some people just go to an awful lot of effort. There it is, people. Check it out. Yeah, for any who haven't seen it yet.
There is a link in the sidebar.
Besides, it's a Conquest of the Longbow. Good game to promote, yes. So, have fun.
By Christy Marks with Peter Ledger doing the art. Richard Aronson is the lead programmer.
Yeah.
Let's see, we had Todd. I want to say Todd Rundgren, but it's a different Todd. What was Todd's last name? On programming, he did the Nine Men's Morris game and tried to really get some AI in there. And Richard said, "No, you don't want it to play that well."
Yeah, that's a trick. Don't play as well as you think it should.
The first game I ever made was when I was working up in Canada. I did a tic-tac-toe game, and it was you against the computer, and the computer played perfect strategy. So most of the games ended in draws, but it could not lose.
Okay.
And the average player played it 1 or 2 or 3 games, and then went on to other things. And then I changed it. I inserted random flaws so that there would be a hole in the logic that every once in a while the computer would lose. And the moment somebody beat the computer at tic-tac-toe, they were hooked in the game and they would come back and play dozens or hundreds of games.
So we learned early that, it pays to let the player win. Yes.
We're there for the player, not for the game master. Can always win.
Right.
It's better to let the player win.
It's all about the players, yes. Brainiac says there were a few quotes from Richard about his work on the game, pulled from the Sierra Venture in the video as well. It's long for a good reason. That's... If they had wanted to get Richard to talk about the game, they would have had no trouble whatsoever. Richard would love to get together and talk about the game. Yep. All right.
Anyway, he introduced one of his computer science instructors to Nine Men's Morris, and he then used that as the game for the next year's AI class. It's actually a really interesting game. I only know the very rudiments. I've mostly forgotten it, basically.
Yeah, I've forgotten it.
But once upon a time, my brother and I had a book called Indoor Games and How to Play Them, and it was all board games and card games, and we went through the entire book and played a lot of the games. I made my own Japanese checkers board, shoji or something like that, and played with with that by myself. I used manila folder and white glue to make the pieces because they are reversible pieces in that game.
Well, we had the board game designers box that had all sorts of generic pieces and things like that to create your own game.
Well, darn, I could have used something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe I'd have become a board game designer or something.
Yeah, my brother and I did that for a very short time because it was rather dull to do it by yourself, yes. New strategy. Let the human or the Wookiee win, yes.
Wise strategy, yes.
And the video ends with a shout out for Summer Days Tilly's Tale. It's also considered part of that games category on YouTube. Yay! Yay!
Might get a spike in sales. Might sell 4 or 5 copies.
Yes! But, any little bit helps.
Oh, there is right now a Steam sale going on. And both Tilly's Tale and Hero You Rogue to Redemption are on sale there. And over on GOG, they don't have Tilly's Tale, but I believe Rogue to Redemption is on sale over there.
For all of you who do not have the game yet.
No, for all those who have friends you haven't given it to yet, you fools.
Yes, if you forgot to get somebody a present, here.
And then, of course, there's the Nintendo Switch eStore that you can get both games on, courtesy of Salacia Games.
So, yeah, if you got some late holiday gifts to give, well, we can suggest that, yes.
We actually have not done our personal Christmas yet. Well, the house has been decorated for weeks because Lori's a natural decorator. But we spent a week visiting our son and his family and decided to not do a personal Christmas there because, it's all about the grandson, not about us.
Besides, we didn't want to haul presents
back and forth.
To...
Yep.
Yeah.
So we have a couple small gifts that we'll probably do on, I don't know, New Year's Eve.
Oh, I was going to do it New Year's Eve, but I gave you your big present, which was a jacket already because he needed it for the trip.
Hey, that counts.
Yes, well.
I have given you, I have twice given you big presents before the event because you happened to mention that you needed them.
Yep, exactly. So, kind of, takes down the point of having the holiday, though.
Yeah, well.
Oh, well. Yep. So, any rate, yes, we went up to Oakland, California for the holidays.
I brought home a cold.
Yeah, I had the cold while I was there, courtesy a almost 3-year-old who had the cold to begin with. But it, let's see, what all did we do? Mostly we just walked around. We did a lot of walking. That's what you do when you're in Oakland.
Yeah, and it's kind of what we do at home, too. But...
Well, no. We don't go anywhere home.
Well, no. We do walk around, though.
We do walk around sometimes, but we went places. We went to a lot of restaurants and things by walking around and parks to play with the kid, the toddler.
I never did get to my leftover enchilada.
And you left your enchilada behind. We got to ride on a little mini train that was, what was it? How many inches was the track?
I think it was 15.
15-inch track.
Yeah.
And it really went quite a long distance around Tilden Park, which is in the hills behind Berkeley. And it's amazing because you think Berkeley with, is, jam-packed with houses and things, if you think of Berkeley at all. And yet here, right up in the hills...
you don't have to go far at all to get to countryside. No. So this...
Redwoods and all sorts of things there, including the Science Hall, Lawrence Science.
So the person who inspired this and started this train during World War II was a railroad enthusiast. And after the war was part of a club that met in Santa Cruz. And he said that, every time they had a meeting, it seemed like they were mourning more and more train lines that had gone out of service and ones were being scrapped and so on. He said, there's not going to be any of these old trains left of the. So he came up with the idea of doing a narrow gauge railroad that kids could actually ride on. And it's basically like a model railroad club, except that's train cars.
For slightly larger.
Yeah.
It is a steam engine. It's a locomotive.
It's a fuel oil.
Well, yes, but
Yeah,
it's
it's
steam. But it's
but
steam.
yeah.
And our almost 3-year-old Elio wouldn't tell you it's a locomotive. It's not just a train, because he knew all the varieties of trains. It was that year. Last year it was everything Cars. The all the stupid characters from Cars. This year, it's anything that has wheels on it, and he will be happy to tell you the difference between a train and a muni and a locomotive. So,
And of course, people feeding the hobby, almost all his presents were wheeled vehicles of one sort or another, and then there was some clothes and stuff which he quickly passed over.
right, yes.
But his favorite present was from one of his preschool teachers, who gave him a fire truck that makes flashing lights and fire noises and runs.
Yes.
And that one he had an amazing time with. He, of course, called that a woo-woo truck, because that's the sound it makes.
Yes. But the least favorite, the prize for least favorite Christmas gifts for our grandson goes to Corey.
Was that the one I gave him?
Yes.
Well, least favorite to my grandson's parents, anyway.
Well, to him, too. He wouldn't play with it.
Yeah.
It was his truck. It was about this big.
From Costco, monster truck with a crane.
Not monster truck.
Oh, it's a big truck.
It was a big truck with
a
crane and a plow in front, or whatever those things are. And it had eyes, so it was slightly anthropomorphic, and it talked.
Yeah, and that was advertised as, helps build vocabulary and such. Talking, well, unfortunately, the writers group for that could have taken a few lessons from Sierra on how to write good dialogue for children.
It was basically a dump truck, and then it made dump jokes.
Yes, and similar. We only heard a few of the lines, so maybe it got better.
Maybe, but just one dump truck joke
was enough.
And it had, on its decorations on the box, had piles of dirt that were suspiciously, wrong. So therefore, and the first time it talked, the kid got creeped out, and he did not play with that, and we were all creeped out. So that was the one thing we've gotten from Costco that got a real big F on it. Not fun.
On the other hand, we also got a 4.5 inch artificial tree from Costco. It's pre-lit, and it's really nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I've already decorated it all with stuff from our games and stuff from Hero U and from the School for Heroes and from Quest for Glory and related.
I made a couple of new ornaments. I made 3 new ornaments this year with Tilly and Ifeo and with Sammy on it, but they rejected the Sammy design. And I didn't find out till later why they rejected Sammy's design.
And why was that?
Because they saw it was a copy of something on the Wikipedia for Quest for Glory games.
Oh, okay.
And so they decided that we were copying that image.
Yeah, so from the previews that we gave of Sammy's story, which of course isn't even out yet.
Yes.
Could be years at the rate we're going.
Yep. So therefore they rejected that design, and then the company...
Because they didn't ask if we owned it.
Right. And then the company went out of business anyway, so I can't I have to find someplace else to get those Christmas ornaments.
Well, that's why.
Yeah, because...
they wouldn't let people promote their own
correct.
games.
Yes, because Cafe Press stopped making them, and Zulily, I guess it was, just went
Zulily?
Zulily just stopped. So, next year, someplace else. Brainiac says, yeah, my folks did the same with me. We had our gift exchange at their home before going over to my sister's to focus on their family, and mostly my nephews. Yep. It is, after all, this time is really for the kids.
Yeah, Christmas is all about the children.
Because they're the ones that are going to be enjoyed the most. Ha, ha. Oh, that's all fake. That is all fake news, because parents can enjoy it and enjoy the holidays just as much as kids.
Well,
we went to San Francisco one day.
Just because you're still a kid.
Yeah. We went up to look at the decorations. We went to the top of the Mark, which is one of the tallest buildings in San Francisco, and the what it was.
We didn't go up to the top though, did we?
We went into it. We didn't go to the top of the top.
Yeah, we went into the hotel, but not.
But it wasn't as exciting as the hotel across from it, which was magical.
The Fairmont.
The Fairmont. It had a gingerbread house out of real gingerbread that was, well, roughly the size of the room we're in. Actually, that's pretty accurate. Maybe bigger than the room we're recording from. Of course, you can't tell how big this room is, but about 12 by 12 room.
Yeah, 10 by 10, yeah, whatever, 12 by 12.
It had extensions on it, and it had a train that ran around there, so that was very thrilling. We took the cable car.
Train, not a big train.
Yeah, model train. And we took the cable car up to it, which I had not ridden on a cable car since...
30 years?
Yeah, 30 years. 30 years easy.
It's been a while. So the Fairmont is famous for its high tea, afternoon high tea, and we saw that they had opened up the restaurant so that the gingerbread house, part of the the interior of the gingerbread house, the part you couldn't walk into, was actually part of the restaurant, and they had it as one of the rooms. So they had
you could have high tea in a giant gingerbread house. How cool is that? If you went into high tea.
And if you had money to pay
and you had the money, mucho money.
But for a really special occasion, it was under $200 a person. So
yeah.
For a really, really special occasion, sure.
Yeah. You could do Disneyland, or you could have high tea at
the
Fairmont, basically. But that's just a matter of choice. So that was elegant, and then we walked down to the cable car.
Well, we went to Union Square. Well, Fairmont is on Union Square. Okay, but anyway, so the cable car, we took up to the Cable Car Museum.
Yes, we walked to the Cable Car Museum, and that was special. It showed all the engines that run the whole cable car, which is literally what it says it is. The engine is on the end, and everything else is pulling this cable through underneath the streets of all of San Francisco.
Right. There is no engine in the cars.
Yes.
So if you're not familiar with San Francisco is famous for cable cars, but what they are is there is this central place that has generators and motors that have these thick cables going through them, and they go under the streets of San Francisco, and the cable cars have grippers that literally grip onto the cable, and the brake man or the grip man on the cable car opens and closes the grip. If he needs to stop, it's kind of the opposite way you'd think. Instead of stepping on the brake, you open up the grip so that the cable starts moving through your thing instead of grabbing it. And otherwise, your thing. So it's a big monster thing. It's like a giant stand-up brake that they've got to pull on. And that gripper grabs hold of the cable with a strong enough grip that it can pull the entire car with, like 40 people aboard.
It was closer to 60, I think.
60, okay, 50, 60 people up those steep hills in San Francisco.
And that hills literally were too steep for horses. They could not bring those horses up there. So you can imagine the engineering feat of trying to create this this road for one thing, but also get that chain that runs the entire length.
Yeah, originally these were horse-drawn carriages, and they found out that first of all the horses ate an enormous amount of hay, so they were extremely expensive, and second they left behind a enormous amount of dump truck joke.
But they also couldn't get to the top of the marketplace. Because, and if it was raining, the horses would slide down the hill, as would everybody that was on that hill. So
and would all their droppings would mix in with the rain, and it was pretty nasty. So
yes.
Cable cars were a great solution that I certainly, and you and I, would never have thought of. The idea of running the cars on an underground cable instead of, they didn't have engines to run them, and if they did, they probably wouldn't have had the power to make it up those San Francisco hills.
But those huge generators and that huge motors were running those cables. And there's still 3 lines that are extant in San Francisco. But they do still go up to the toppest hill, the highest hill that's in the middle of the town.
I think that system's been running over 150 years, and they still have basically the original equipment and every night they inspect the cables to find if there's any frayed strands or whatever, and then have a whole procedure for splicing in a new section of cable.
And so, in a way, the cable cars are just like that little the model train we rode on. It's a remnant of a past that people have lovingly fought to keep going, because I think it was in '54, I think they wanted to get rid of all the cable cars and just go with buses. And basically
somebody started a foundation to keep them going.
So they almost got rid of them all. Maybe it was as late as the 60s.
Yeah, I thought it was the 60s.
It was probably the 60s. But it took a lot of work and a lot of fighting to keep those things. And this is one of the few alive, still running in these days. And some of those things literally are as old as, the hills still. So that was kind of an exciting thing, too. So we did trains. Oh, and coming back from San Francisco, we rode a ferry. So it was a very, very entertaining.
Oh, did we? I was busy playing bridge and didn't notice it.
Yeah, right. On your phone?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, we got to ride the ferry across the bay from San Francisco back to Oakland.
And my son railed against all things Google and the fact that Lori could not get her Android phone with Google to accept the transit passes.
Well, part of it was because I didn't have my password for my account because I didn't have my computer with me. So that was part of that reason. Yes.
And then it worked fine. I've got an iPhone 8, a real old one, and probably ought to upgrade it one of these years. The only reason I have the phone is because I had to have some sort of Apple product to be an Apple developer.
Yep.
Weird that.
Yeah.
And but it's a good little phone.
Yeah, it worked. I kept getting rejects from mine, so alas. So we've had some exciting adventures. What else did we do? That's probably the highlights of the highlight reel. We ate at different ethnic restaurants and things.
Yeah, we had some Japanese. What do you call this? Soup?
Ramen. We had
ramen.
Ramen.
Okay, we had ramen. And I, of course, had something else because I'm not a ramen fan.
Yes, you had the pork buns.
Oh, yeah.
Deconstructed pork buns.
They were actually really good. And
so we ate a lot,
we had
naturally.
Had some Mexican.
But we did not do what I normally do,
Yeah.
which is make a lot of cookies. We only made sugar cookies the whole time we were there.
And they didn't come out quite right.
They were just not the way I wanted them to be. They were fine, but they just weren't perfect. They weren't the type that, the old things, yes.
Windows 10 is just Windows 10 and 11 are just so bloated. You'd use up a huge part of the phone. As it is, my phone has 64 gigabytes of memory, and I think like 15 or 20 gig of that is taken up by the operating system. So Windows would probably take up 100 gig of the 60.
Oh, I had speaking of rice balls in Japan are amazing. You can get them everywhere, even 7-Eleven. I had a sandwich that was a Korean barbecue sandwich with rice cakes, fried rice.
Yeah, instead of having bread, it had
the fried rice
as
the
bun.
And it was really tasty. I really enjoyed that. But one of the things we found in San Francisco, just walking around, and we walked through this very narrow street that was in Chinatown, we found the California Fortune Cookie Company. And that was one of the big distributors of fortune cookies, although I didn't recognize their fortunes. They were different. One side of the fortune was in French. So, you could practice your French.
Yeah, you could practice your French, study your French. So let's see, is the Embarcadero thing only on Saturdays, or is that every day?
What?
The food court thing at the Embarcadero.
The food court is only on Saturdays.
Okay, yes. So every Saturday at the Embarcadero in San Francisco, they have a indoor and outdoor food court that is.
And food court is
farmers
market.
Farmers market, essentially, that is highly recommended. And Michael and Annette always go to the one place that has chilaquiles that are different every week, and they swear by. I got a terrific Reuben sandwich, which is an abomination in the eyes of Orthodox Judaism, but that's okay. I'm not an Orthodox Jew, so I can get away with it. The smallest device that Bill Kuhn owns can run Windows 10 is a 7-inch tablet. Dell Venue 8 Pro. I do have slots for SIM cards, actually. Okay.
That's reasonable.
7-inch tablet. So, I mean,
Wow.
that's not much bigger than a phone.
No.
Phone's like 4-inch, 4.5-inch, something like that. So
Depends
it's
on
a bit bigger. About twice the size.
Yeah. So anyway, yes, we
Pardon
had a
my-
very exciting holiday full of walking around and seeing things, which is the right way to do it.
And we set up an Uber account and used Uber for the first time.
And then our
And
plane was delayed
Our
going.
plane was like 3 hours late coming back and missed the last train and
Yes.
ended up taking an Uber all the way from San Diego up to Oceanside.
Happy New Year, Joshua the Unreliable.
Happy New Year to you.
Yeah. And
That sounds like something Josh Mandel would call himself because he's always self-effacing.
Yes. Yes. Ah, yes. Happy New Year to everybody as you show up, and welcome to the last show of the year from Corey and Lori. It's been an exciting year.
Yep.
Full of changes.
And Bill Kuhn has been testing out some 20-year-old computers this afternoon, labeling for future plans or disposition. We don't have any 20-year-old hardware, but we have, several generations of computers and laptops
Yeah,
that
I don't
we
know.
can't quite bear to get rid of, so they sit there cluttering up.
I'm
the
not
place.
sure how they're getting older. Some of them, like what was the original on that?
We got rid of the
mainframe?
Dell.
Yeah, we did.
The one that's in the other room is
Yeah.
it's less than 10 years old.
Okay. Happy New Year's Eve.
We wanted a couple generations of laptops, and they just did not work well enough for the stuff we were doing.
They didn't have the life expectancy that I want for my computers.
Reliability or
Besides, Photoshop is really big, and you have to have a pretty good computer for Photoshop. But the real driving force on some of these computers is they have...
It's working.
Oh, okay, fine. Not World of Warcraft.
No, not at all. No. It's all about work.
Uh-huh.
And Photoshop.
And Photoshop, clearly.
And voice recording and analysis. And,
Yeah, all the things that we do.
all the things that other people do for us.
The things that we were supposed to do this year. So, yes, the sad news is that Afeo's game is delayed for another year.
Yep.
It's going to be out next year. This year was insane because of the things that went on in our lives.
It's been a pretty crazy. And next year's insane too.
Is it?
Yeah, next year we're traveling.
Well, yeah, next year we're traveling. But that isn't as insane as this year.
We had gone 20 or 30 years basically not going anywhere except maybe a occasional weekend science fiction convention, and then just before the pandemic, my son took us along on a trip to Barcelona, which was wonderful, and
Christmas time, Barcelona at Christmas time.
Yeah.
5 years ago.
Yeah, it was either 2018 or 2019.
Okay.
And then the following spring, so I guess it was spring of 2019, we did a indie games show in London, and while we were there, we fulfilled some things to visit people, and visited a fan that was a major backer of Hero U in Germany, and with a quick stop in Paris on the way.
Through Paris, really.
Yeah, really just through Paris, and I would have liked to have spent a couple days in Paris, but we just didn't have the time for it. So that was a really nice trip too, and certainly like to go back. Anyway, next year we're actually doing a couple of alumni trips with UC Santa Barbara, and we're going to be going out to the Danube and East Central Europe, and up towards Prague, and then...
Yeah, it was like, well, we had been talking about doing vacations for a long time and doing cruises and that, and then this came along, and it's so very different. It's going to all these places that you'd never think of going in Europe. And so it was like, this will be really scenic and really different. So we opted up and said, okay, fine, we'll try this. Even though it isn't Greece. It's not Ireland. It's not Scotland. It's nothing that was...
Not New Zealand.
Yeah, it's
or
nothing...
Hobbiton.
Right, it's nothing on our list of places we wanted to go.
We're actually starting out very close to Greece. We're just north of Greece at the beginning of the cruise.
Right, north of Macedonia. And just east of Transylvania, Moldavia and
we're west of Transylvania.
West, all right, west.
Yes, we'll be just west of Transylvania by the end of the trip.
Yep.
Not all that far from Ukraine, so that's kind of exciting.
Yeah.
I just saw there was an interesting looking trip that was Athens to Athens bridge cruise, and mentioned that it stopped in Turkey and Israel, and I said, this might not be the right time to take that one. They've probably advertised that, set it up a year or more in advance. So.
Right.
They didn't know there was going to be a little problem in Israel right now.
So yes. So that's.
So we're going to be traveling next year in between.
We'll be doing that in the
games.
spring, yes.
Spring and the fall.
And then in the fall.
Oh yes, the fall is the second trip.
A second trip that suddenly came up and said, this is what we wanted to do.
Yeah, and that one's the west coast of Ireland.
Yep, going up.
So that'll be really fun. And so we still have the bucket list trip to the Greek Isles sometime in the future.
Yeah, but we will take off.
Maybe 2025.
At least be able to click off Ireland off the list.
Yes. We still need Japan. We still need. Still need Australia and New Zealand.
Yep. Yeah, there's a lot of things on our list that may or may not.
I had thought about going to the World Science Fiction Convention in Australia, but just didn't manage it.
No.
And I think that actually, I don't even know if they held it.
I think they did.
I think they did, but it was really small because of the pandemic.
So, at any rate, it's next year's going to be insane too, because we all will be doing a lot of traveling. But by that time, I'm sure most of the art will be done for Ifeo's game at any rate, because this year we basically redesigned a lot of the stuff that we had done.
And we hope that for many years to come, all the years will be insane in good ways.
Yes.
And that we'll do interesting and fun things.
Right. Every day an adventure. That was always my motto that I had on my wall as a kid. It was actually inspired by a Dick and Jane book. That was the title of the Dick and Jane book. And I said, okay, this is it. This is what I want to have for my life.
Well, Dr. Seuss did know the places you'll go.
I know. And that's so much the same. But, every day an adventure. That and Question Authority, which I also had in my bedroom.
I need a steamer on my left side.
Oh, no. To get to run it. I see.
Yep.
Okay, so at any rate, I hope you all had a better year this year than you did the previous 2 years.
And then you have even better years coming up.
Yeah, I know. This has been a rough year for most people still. It was kind of rough for us.
And of course, next year in the U.S. is an election year.
Oh, that'll be exciting.
Presidential election. I mean, there's every year is some sort of an election, but everyone in the House of Representatives and Congress gets reelected, and
not everybody.
Yeah, entire House of Representatives. Everybody is up for office every 2 years.
Yeah. Oh, I thought it was half of them, and
nope.
they flip off.
Nope.
That's ridiculous. What a stupid, absolutely
House of Representatives is
system.
a 2-year term, and every 2 years you run again. The Senate is every 6 years. It's a 6-year term. And so about a third of the senators are up for election each every year, every 2 years. Yeah.
Crazy.
3 6-year
really
cycles. And presidential elections in the U.S. are every 4 years. And of course, this is a leap year coming up, so we'll have 366 days to enjoy everything.
Okay. That's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
It's going to be an interesting year for everyone, I'm sure.
I think last time I mentioned the programming thing I had at my first internship job where I set up an order entry system to deliver orders on March 0th because it didn't know what February 29th was.
Okay. Good stuff. yes, I hope all of you are excited about the new year. It should be something to look forward to, that it isn't 2023, and it isn't 2022, and it isn't 2021.
Isn't 2017 to 2020. So, yeah, there's some years we can forget.
Yeah, quite a few. And basically every year there's something nasty that happens.
Yep.
Some years are worse than others. And this year, well, we got, a war the entire year. And then just to round things out, let's have another war.
Oh,
yes.
joy.
Oop.
Oh.
Tundra.
Surgery.
Tundra is got a rotator.
Cuff surgery.
Ugh. 6 months to recover. Ugh.
But will you be a baseball star again when it's after your 6 months?
That's a long time of recovery to be a baseball star, personally. Yeah. But I'm sorry for you. I hope it works, A woman I was met yesterday from ceramics yesterday, 10 days ago, had hip surgery. And she was up and walking around and said hardly, all that much pain. So, modern surgery can do wonders.
This is the typical old people's discussion.
Unfortunately, yes. But, yeah. Tundra says he was never to begin with. Oh,
never a baseball
never a big
pitcher.
baseball pitcher.
The old joke was,
Yes.
The guy was getting hand surgery and asked the doctor, will I be able to play the piano after this is? Oh, of course, yes. It'll just have to give it time to recover. He says, oh, great! I've always wanted to be able to play the piano.
Yep, exactly. That's that joke, such that it is.
All right, we've only managed to kill a half hour. Obviously, this video was going. This stream is going slower than usual.
No, it's just
What
that the subject
next?
we're done with a subject that we kind
More
of,
so than usual. Usually,
yes.
we stray from the subject 15 or 20
right.
times.
So we haven't strayed nearly enough times.
Anyway, so
yet.
we have exciting travel plans for next year, and.
Is this the one you wanted to share?
Oh, yeah, sure. Let's get the. This is the Adventure Games Hotspot. Did a video. And
I'm going to show that screen.
I guess I should type it in though. Adventure Games Hotspot. End of year 2023. Okay, yeah, we can go back to the beginning and show it on the desktop.
Desktop. There it is.
Hey, it's got a snowman.
It's
and
a
then
snowman and
click
a
play and then
snowy
click full
scene.
screen.
Full screen. Okay, fine. That's an interesting site. Oh. Okay, yeah. It's the developer season screenings video. Jack Allen. The hotspot.
No, caught in the act. Well, I can't help it. I'm just so excited about what might be in my stocking this year. In the past, Santa Claus and I have not always seen eye to eye on where I fit on the naughty or nice list. Let's just say that my gifts have almost single-handedly kept the coal industry alive.
Hey, the coal
This year
industry
is going to be different. I have been so good, or tried to be anyway, especially in trying to make
I love
Adventure
what he
Game
does with his
Hotspot
eyes.
the very best website it could possibly be. And I just know Santa is going to want to reward me for that. And what I asked for was any of the top new adventure game releases this year. It could be Firmament from Cyan, the creators of Myst. It could be Stasis Bone Totem, sequel to one of my favorite sci-fi horror games. Maybe it'll be the incredible The Talos Principle 2. It could even be Colossal Cave, reimagined by none other than Ken and Roberta Williams.
Okay.
I mean, the
That's a nice
possibilities
shout-out.
are almost endless, and Santa couldn't go wrong with any of them. So because I've been so good, and because I'm so eager, let me just sneak an early peek and see how I did. Oh, come on!
Is it a sock or a scarf?
It's a
Oh,
sock.
well. It's a step in the right direction anyway.
It's a
I'll just have to
stocking
try
in the
even
stocking.
harder this coming year. And there's lots to look forward to, including an amazing site redesign that is going to blow your minds, And next
You can
summer
use
in
that.
Tacoma, Washington,
What?
a live
A
convention
site redesign.
in conjunction with a Sierra reunion. That's going to be a load of fun, and we hope to see you all there.
I have people offering to do that
In the
all the time.
meantime, Merry Christmas from me, or Happy Holidays, or whatever you celebrate this time of year. Have fun, be safe, be well, and be good to each other, because we all need more kindness in the world. And perhaps the only gift any of us really need is the hearty well wishes of fellow travelers. So enjoy the rest of the video you're about to watch.
And that's the reason we're showing.
It's because they put us first.
Wilkie Ferry says
Happy holidays.
socks
Lori
are a
and
great
Courtney
gift,
Cole,
as long as you
to
can at
the
least
Adventure Game
do. Yeah.
Hotspot community. We designed the award-winning Quest for Glory games, Castle of Dr. Brain, Hero U Road to Redemption, and Summer Days. Our newest release is Summer Days Tilly's Tale, a fantasy visual novel set at Hero U. Tilly is a charming rogue who learns that she needs real friends to be successful. If you love adventure stories and games, check out Summer Days Tilly's Tale on Steam. And I forgot to mention Nintendo Switch. We're currently working on Summer Days Efeo's adventure. As Efeo studies wizardry, he also needs to earn the trust and respect of other students to become a true hero. From all of us at Transsolar Games and Hero U, we wish you the best of the season. We hope that the new year will be a grand and glorious adventure for all of us. Yeah, there's other games.
Minor games like,
minor stuff like Tim Schafer.
Yes.
But, we don't want to violate anyone's copyright by
No,
shutting
no,
it here
no.
and get us gets copyright strikes against us. So.
I was just going to go over to webcam, honestly. Yeah. Okay, so there's a holiday greeting from the adventure group.
And stuff about all the new adventures, and I did put the link in the sidebar.
So if you want to hear from all the other people that they actually contacted and had the time to do it, is Ken and Roberta there, you say?
That was a separate one. I got
was a
an
different
email
one.
from them.
Oh, okay.
I might be able to find it.
Yeah, find them, because I'm sure everybody here would want to actually see the one from Ken and Roberta. That's more their style. Cygnus? It's from Cygnus.
Cygnus
Okay,
Entertainment.
Oh my! All right, show that page.
Okay,
yes,
here's
the corporate
here's
headquarters.
the email I got. The corporate headquarters of Cygnus Entertainment.
I see. Okay. Honestly, would you like that to be your corporate headquarters?
I guess that.
Yes, you could do that. Yes, you could that.
There we go.
Oh, look! There's snow.
Oh yeah,
it's snowing on
that's
their
an
corporate.
That's an animated video. Either that, or it really was snowing when we did it.
Well, it has the things here. Can you push that?
Probably not.
That stops the snow. So we're snowing on the reaction. So that is like the Sierra logo, the Sierra magazine interaction. They have imitated that
interaction,
style.
right? That reaction.
Reaction. The official Cygnus Entertainment newsletter.
Which, of course, is good because it's a play and interaction. It's a reaction
It's
stuff. And it is the fact that they're starting over in the game industry.
Yeah,
so
that's really
it's
clever.
got multiple
really
meanings.
Clever. Very deep.
And it's in reference to action, reaction.
Okay, and there is their...
that you'll have to full screen again.
Full screen,
Quick.
huh? That's it? Or
Full
is that
screen
that's a commercial. We
Oh.
need a full screen the commercial.
Let me get a commercial.
Because you don't have ad blocker.
No, we are going back
Okay.
to what you guys say.
So what I do is...
You lost it then.
I'll get it back.
But
Okay.
Hi,
There they
everybody.
are.
Ken and Roberta Williams here.
I look a little washed out. It's too much light.
Yeah. Oh, you don't look as washed out in this.
Colossal Cave. We just wanted to
He
wish
looks
all
kinda
of you a
old.
very, very Merry Christmas.
I'm mostly old because he's flushed out.
and a
He's white.
Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas.
You like those ultra-realistic hats?
Yes. How do you like those? Yes.
I like that ornament.
Okay, all right. I do like
See?
that fake ornament. I see what you were saying. It was an ornament. How would you like that ornament? I'd like
Let's
that
go
ornament.
back
Okay,
there,
fine.
Huh?
Huh?
We can go back to the ornament and freeze
Go
on
back
it.
to the ornament and freeze on it. Happy holidays from Colossal Cave.
There we
yeah.
go. That's a lovely logo for
Yeah.
Cygnus.
Yeah, that is
That's
more
a
the
dragon.
colossal. That's a Colossal Cave logo, actually.
Okay.
But yeah.
And then they put it on against an
Ornament.
ball.
Yes, they're even got the fake snow on this, so somebody did the special effects
There
for
we go.
this.
So we've got a.
Yeah, there to make it look like an ornament. I like that a lot. Yeah.
Oh, it's
I might
dripping
make-
water actually.
Yeah. Well, it's supposed to be
Got
snow.
the camera wet.
Yeah. So that was cool. That was a little more special effects than we bothered to put in ours because I was doing it.
Well, I did it, and you'll notice that ours cleverly did not have any picture of us,
Yeah.
and didn't have Lori talking because she's shy.
Yeah. Well, because I don't like my own voice. That's why.
I think
And
your
because
love
it
voice is
was
lovely.
easier to just do a simple narration. Yeah. So at least that's the happy holidays from other people. Any stories to tell about the making of the Sierra electronic Christmas cards? I wish we could, but we did not actually get any involvement in those things. In fact, we were lucky if we saw them, actually. All right. Which voice is best? I see. You're going to do a... yeah. Okay. Oh, it automatically numbers it. Cool. Actually, Roberta's voice sounded pretty good on that thing. I mean, she sounded very good. She looked good, too.
Let's do Ken's. Let's do all the men first.
Oh, okay, fine. Ken's. I see. We're going to compare everybody. I was surprised that Ken didn't do more talking. Okay, fine. You silly person.
Okay, we're starting the poll.
Yeah. Which voice is
I
best?
didn't allow Molly voting. Maybe I should have.
No, it didn't matter.
Okay, so all need to vote on which voice is the most amazing and
The
which one you most want to listen to.
listen to for this holiday season, really.
Do.
And,
I can't do that. That'll get me another copyright
Yes, you
violation.
will be pulled off the air.
Is this working? Nobody's voted yet.
Oh well. Those Sierra Cards demos were interesting. I'm guessing those would get sent out to the computer and game stores. You got it. They were sent out to the stores as a demo. Okay.
Maybe this isn't working right because.
Oh no, we gotta vote.
Oh, there we go! Exclamation point vote. That's what you have to do.
Yeah. Okay.
So the 3 doesn't work, Bill. You have to type in
okay,
exclamation
fine.
point vote space 3.
Yeah. There we go. That
There we
worked.
go.
There. Now we're tallying.
Okay, now we have some votes.
Yes.
The women are winning so far.
Okay. Well, let's see. Okay. There we go.
There's someone who agrees with Lori.
Yay. So, at any rate, you've had to put this silly thing up.
Yep, we have to invite Roberta into our stream from now on.
Yeah, I know. We'll have to get her to come. Yeah, or she could, they could
It's,
just...
by the way, answering 3 is impolitic. So it's not politically correct.
Yeah. Oh, well. Let's see what else is going on. That was the holiday season for us. I did spend some time to do that video, even though it doesn't look like it takes that long. It did take a full day. Remembering
A few hours, yeah.
Remembering how to use Premiere Pro. I mean, every time I have to do a movie, I have to relearn it from scratch all over again because, it's not the easiest program in the world.
When we did the videos for Kickstarter, it took us like a week of retakes to try to do a few line script, and we kept flubbing the script or look at each other instead of the camera, or just something went wrong.
All right,
So we did it over and over and
yeah.
over again. Okay, you can click stop, and we'll have the results.
You
Notify
wanna
chat.
No, I don't want to notify them.
Well, then you shouldn't click that.
Yeah, I know.
You could click the other one.
I know.
All right, Roberta.
Yay! She was the
Okay, so from now on, go listen to Roberta. Forget
winner.
us.
Yes.
You don't need to be here.
Yeah, go watch their corporate thing while they're sitting in their back of their boat as they navigate the waters of the Caribbean. Whatever.
So it's Cygnus Entertainment. Let's see if they have a link to that.
Okay.
Ken's blog is his boat blog. Oh, here we go. ColossalCave3D.com.
Okay. That's what you
They
should.
say that you should go more Roberta at
There we go.
ColossalCave.com.
at least in theory. We haven't actually gone there to find out if
Oh,
they actually
I
have
can do that. I can just click right here.
You
Boom.
could. And see if, let's look at that. Look
Okay,
at
here
this
we go.
pro
Desktop.
thing. Look at that pro picture. Where's our pro picture? It actually is 3, even though it looks like a flat image, it isn't. And they should have animated it. It would be
About
much.
Cygnus.
Yeah, About Cygnus. Go to About
Oh, the
Cygnus.
play now is animated.
Well, yeah, but. Okay, About Cygnus.
That would go to what they call a landing page.
See, yeah,
which,
there we go. And
this isn't maximized.
it isn't. Okay, fine.
There.
There's that. That's a kind of an interesting picture, and it is 3D. There's where you use it. You use the scrolling
Okay.
button.
Does
That
it have
makes
parallax?
sense. Yeah, it does. Well, at least it
It
has
looks like it.
kind of
There's
parallax.
a Ken Roberta documentary, but that has her voice.
Probably.
About Cygnus Entertainment.
Well, that's a kind of a nice photo of her. I don't like how it goes off into blackness here on this side. It looks like somebody photoshopped that. But very nice. There's Ken looking.
How come Roberta is still timeless and young and Ken looks old?
I don't know, because
Maybe running a computer game company ages you.
stay in the loop. Okay, well, clearly,
In the loop.
I have to say this is a fairly,
Da-da-da-da.
compared to our website, this is fairly, sophisticated. Although this can all be done with
Wait,
CSS.
scroll back down to the games.
Scroll back down.
Let's see
to
if
the
they took
games.
credit for ours.
Which one?
Go down further.
There's the
Go
those games.
down to there.
There. Oh, okay, fine.
Okay, we got Mystery House. Oh, these are
These
Roberta
are
Williams
Roberta's.
games. Okay,
Yeah,
there
they're
we
all
go.
Roberta's. Assuming that.
King's Quest, Time Zone. Time Zone was it was a tour de force. Came on like 16 discs or something. I don't know the exact number. We were constantly reloading
we
in
can
different
show
time
the
periods.
things, yeah.
It was a huge game that should have been on DVD, but was on floppies.
So she didn't do Phantasmagoria 2. Goria 2, wasn't there a 2?
Yeah.
I thought so. She is not taking credit for that.
That's interesting.
And she's taking credit for Mission Asteroid.
Mission
Okay,
Asteroid.
that's
Boy, I
interesting.
don't remember that one.
I don't remember that one. Some of you people may. It wasn't our era. At any rate, there's Roberta. We will advertise their thing. Maybe you want to get their game. There was a information out from the Space Adventure guys too this year.
Space Adventure. Oh yeah, they just gave us an update.
Yeah.
We didn't have a video though.
No, they didn't have a video.
I don't think.
What was their update? Most of you probably got it already.
Their update was basically that they're working on it and they're doing lots of bug fixes and stuff, and that they were going to. Ken Williams had said maybe they were going to work with them, but that their team instead decided to do the Colossal Cave version 2.
Okay.
That's a major revision to the Colossal Cave
okay.
Adventure, and that therefore they didn't have any resources or manpower left to work on Space Adventure.
That is Ace and Rex. I always have to lean forward when they're dark letters against a black background. Yes. Mission Asteroid was their third high-res adventure on the online system, but they numbered it as number 0 because it was supposedly an easier introduction to adventure games.
Ah,
That's interesting. Did you actually play the game? I mean, how many of you actually played all of Sierra's early games? More than we did, I know. But how
I played
was
a
it?
few minutes of Mystery House, and I played a little bit of Soft Porn Adventure, which is the
Well, yeah, but
predecessor to Leisure Suit Larry. I was at a party.
we were at a party and we saw the interface. That was about it. And of course, you played Leisure Suit Larry. The second
Yes.
one.
Leisure Suit Larry 2.
2, yeah.
Yeah, Leisure Suit Larry 2 I converted to the Atari ST.
So we do have some.
Quote converted. Okay, so I made sure it was compatible with the work I had done on a universal translator to the Atari ST.
I think I would have approached it with more wonder had I played it at its time. Yeah, probably,
alas.
because it probably was something. I haven't played anything prior to King's Quest 1 yet.
So the big deal about Colossal Cave Adventure is that was basically the first adventure game.
Yeah.
And it was called Advent on most ARPANET things because that was the 6 letters was the longest length for a program name.
And that's why, and most of the text fields didn't let you do very much either. Yeah.
It only allowed 2-word commands. So you could say something like "get lamp."
Yep.
But you couldn't say "put oil in the lamp."
Right. So really, what you're playing is, I guess, the designers, but more than that, it's
Fight the interface.
Fight the interface. It's all an interface game, and therefore there were true moments of brilliance of trying to figure out how to defeat the dragon, for instance, that broke the whole fourth wall effectively in gameplay.
And
So it really is brilliant.
yeah, I played it on a teletype when I visited UCLA's engineering department one summer, and kind of hazy on the exact year, but it was about a year before Wikipedia says the game was available, and I actually managed to prove that a few months ago when came across some old records. But anyway. Colossal Cave Adventure or Advent was really fun, and was where I got my start in adventuring gaming, and I introduced Lori to
Yeah,
it.
it was my first real computer game on a real computer. Other than little tiny game machines that were computers at that point too, the Pong games that I had played. But this was the first floppy disk computer with a huge floppy. I was, I
8-inch
was
diskettes.
afraid I was going to, blow the whole thing up. I wasn't sure what I was doing. So that was my introduction to computer games.
Lori's other exciting introduction on my S100 bus CPM system was WordStar. And the idea that she could type things in and that it would not punish her for making a mistake. And correction, you just backspace over it and it's gone forever.
I had an electric typewriter,
Yep.
which you could undo certain things, but they weren't as good as a word processor, and the word processor made all the difference in the world in writing.
And copy and paste and cut and
And
paste.
then eventually
and such,
spelling, because it corrected your spelling, or at least notified you when you spelled something wrong. So therefore, you could learn how to really, spell. Since I learned, I mentally read by glossing over words and basically seeing patterns of words and never reading all the words in a sentence, just going for noun, verb, or whatever, comprehending the gist of things. Spelling was rather vague. So.
which used to greatly depress me because I considered myself a speed reader, and Lori's 3 to 5 times faster or more.
Yeah, my family had the gene
reading
for
gene,
reading.
the speed reading gene.
Speed reading gene, yes. My brain processes it like that. Yeah. And Bill says he hasn't gotten the Wizard and the Princess to run on a vintage computer. It says not enough memory. That's interesting. Remember having to play memory configuration game before getting to play the game you bought? I didn't have to do that. We always had a pretty.
In the intermediate era, when the 90s when Sierra games were out, there were a lot of extenders to DOS that allowed you to get more than the basic 640K that DOS allowed. I don't remember the name of them offhand, but it was like extended DOS or something like that. And they were all finicky, and you had to, kind of play with it. Some games required you to install one of those.
Really? Well, just. But, yeah.
Yeah, the Intel architecture was segmented. You can only access 64K of memory at a time. Whereas the Macintosh and the Atari ST and the Amiga all came out with 68,000 processors that allowed you to directly access memory, and it was a lot easier to program.
But it didn't win the wars.
No. Somehow IBM and the PC won the wars.
They
Bill
won
Gates,
the,
Microsoft.
well, the reason they won the war was because they did not keep tight control over the architecture so that anybody could make a PC for a while.
Yeah, so they may have lost the money war.
Yes.
Apple made a lot of money, but the PC became and MS-DOS and then Windows became ubiquitous. And of course, once was Windows was proprietary again.
Right. So therefore, Microsoft won
but
the
you could
war.
run it on all sorts of hardware.
Right. Microsoft won.
Yep.
Now, in retrospect, I mean, Apple did win, but Apple has always been its elitist snob attitude that we're the greatest and nobody else can imitate us, mostly because we'll take you to lawsuits and we will make sure you cannot possibly imitate us.
Guy Cheese says,
Okay.
Amiga
will be victorious in my heart. Yes. Yes, indeed.
So when we first started at Sierra, and they were in the old Redwood professional building, we had an intern who was the, Amiga, what's the word, proselytizer, the big Amiga fan. And so,
Guru.
and he brought in games like, something of the Crown, and would call everybody in the office over and say Amiga demo, and after that, anytime anybody was showing off any kind of
Lemmings. Lemmings started on the Amiga,
was
didn't
it?
it?
No, I don't think so. I think that's older.
Really?
Yeah, but there was
No, we played it on the Atari ST.
there was a company called CinemaWare. If I look up CinemaWare, they had all the games.
Defender of the
Defender
Crown
of the
Rib
Crown.
Roast. Yes, yes.
Defender of the Crown Rib Roast.
Yes, that was it.
So that was from CinemaWare, and so our intern would come and call everybody over to show them the game, and we were all amazed at the 32 color whatever it was, might even have been 128. Better graphics than we could get on any of the other machines.
Yes, it was always interesting.
And better audio.
It was an amazing machine. We will give Amiga the credit that it is due, even though it died.
Woodworks Gaming says, Lemmings, so much fun and misery. I actually made it all the way through the first 80 maps, the original game of Lemmings.
Yeah, I made through most of those too.
Yeah, and that was a great game. It graduated difficulty and very creative and trying to think outside the box.
Yeah, and then the second one came along, and it was too tough to do. It was too hard from the beginning, and so therefore we didn't play it.
A common failure. I mean, Dungeon Master was a game that really blew us away as a computer role playing game, and then Dungeon Master 2 came along, and it was like, oh my God, just started out like the end game of Dungeon Master
Right,
from
so
the
it
beginning.
starts on steroids, then you just can't go anywhere. Okay, let's see. Eden Wade said, I tried playing Wizard and the Princess under an Apple II emulator, but saving the game seemed to overwrite some of the game files, which would corrupt the game files. Oh,
Fun.
yes, and Roadwark Gaming says, hello everyone, what's happening? I missed the email notification was gaming for the last hour. Well, at least you had fun that last hour. All we're doing is,
Yeah, we're just being nostalgic and waxing.
yes, about
wax
things.
on, wax off.
Well, we did show off the Roberta Williams and Ken Christmas card.
And we showed off the. Well, you can watch this video
Yes,
later
right,
on.
yeah.
You'll catch it on YouTube later.
Yeah. Pretty sure Lemmings was Amiga first and then ported to the other systems. I'm pretty sure too. It started on Amiga, but we got it on the Atari and we played it on the ST and we really enjoyed it, yes. Valiant says, I still love the specifics of how Quest for Glory 1's and Heroes Quest music and sound came out on the Amiga. It was nice that they really worked to make these things different for the different version computers. That was good.
Yeah, it helped that the music was initially mostly done. I mean, Ken Williams was really into having good music as games from the beginning, so he made a deal with Roland to get the LAPC1 bundled in with games, which was kind of amazing. And so the music was developed for the Roland MT32 from the first place, and then kind of downsampled to go on the lousy PC speakers.
Yeah.
And I kind of had fun with that. The Atari ST was better than the PC, and maybe about as good as the Tandy.
Which isn't saying that much.
Yeah. But, you know,
It had
3 or 4
it was
voices and stuff.
reasonable.
But so I played with, you know, envelopes, so you didn't just have square notes, square wave notes and stuff like that. So, you know, we actually had something approaching music.
Yeah. Let's see.
Um,
Let's see. And Wilkie says that Fleming started out on the Amiga. The Brits rightfully loved that machine. Yeah, I mean, it was a good gaming machine.
Oh, I was also going to mention Rogue. So Rogue was a game that has its antecedent almost as far back as Colossal Cave Adventure, maybe the same period.
Slightly later.
And it was originally, one of the first games people worked on Berkeley Unix and BSD Unix. So we had that at Olivetti, where I worked on Unix systems, developing Olivetti computers. And spent many late nights playing Rogue there.
Yes, remember that term gaming widows that came out much later? I was told Corey was working late all these nights when he was not coming home, and I was a gaming widow.
Well, the worst thing actually was on the way to Olivetti, I drove past a place called the Donut Wheel, and so I gained about 20 or 30 pounds.
Yeah, okay.
But in the evenings,
he was there.
I was working hard very late playing Rogue,
yeah.
and eventually beat the game. I was the first one at Olivetti to beat it.
Congratulations.
Putting in enough hours.
Yeah.
Originally,
mastery. You know, it takes 1,000 hours to master something. Well, I'm sure you put in your 1,000 hours. Yes.
Originally, you might find an arrow, and maybe you'd find a bow, and you needed them both to be able to shoot.
Yes, I know. So frustrating. But we played it on the Atari when it came.
So that was what I was going to say. The Atari ST really made it special.
Yes.
Talk about it.
Well, I can't. I mean, it just did the graphics better. It lets you look into the rooms and see them at see an individual area of a room, and then have something that was a little animated figure along the lines of.
Yeah, so it effectively had a zoom mode. So normally Rogue is played with the map as the screen,
and symbols as the characters for bat.
Actually, just characters like a
B for bat. Yes.
And then on but they allowed you to zoom into a room and then see graphics of the battle of the Cobalt or whatever,
and it was
a few pixels.
Much more interesting, much more engaging, and of course, I spent my 1,000 hours on that game too. Yeah, so
enjoy it.
Maybe once. You had to. I mean, it was a lot of trial and error and trying to get the right random number generator. Because if you started out with a lousy game, it never got better. I mean, the time you found a bow, but you never found an arrow in the first 3 rooms, throw the game off.
Actually, that wasn't the problem. It was the critical ones were the gain strength potion and the restore strength potion.
And how many rattlesnakes you met, yes.
Yeah, because rattlesnakes, or whatever, it wasn't rattlesnakes in the original version, but I think it was in the Atari ST, that drained you a strength point. And the only way to get those back was to have a restore strength potion.
So therefore, it was a great game for random number generating.
Yeah. So the thing about Rogue is permadeath is the key to rogues and roguelikes, and that you could save the game, but when you saved it, basically when you loaded the saved game, that destroyed it. So
because you'd get the different random number generator, and
so if you died, it was gone.
Yeah.
The way to cheat, of course, was to save the game, find the save game file, and copy it. And then you could go back to that point later. But that was sort of against the spirit of the game.
And it never worked right because,
Good
again...
That's how I won.
I see.
You don't think I can win on straight playthrough?
I wondered how you did that. I know. We won one night. That was it. We did it together, and we
just
won one
one of those magical games.
Yes. Where all the stars aligned, the random number generator decided, oh yeah, let's roll 20s all the time, and we had a few monster rooms that were just packed with monsters, but we could get out and basically do it. So that's
so basically Rogue, had like 1 or 2 monsters in a room, but every once in a while, it would kick out a number that would cause the entire room to be filled with monsters. and you'd probably die. But if you
Yes.
survived, it would be just as full of magic items.
Yes,
and
all those
potions
monsters
and
drop
staves
something.
and scrolls,
So yeah,
staves, and yay.
yay. So that's why we like rogue games. They
I
were
want-
terrible games. I will not play them now, but at the time, they were just enough positive reinforcement and enough occasional reinforcement, because you would lose more times than you'd win. But there was the occasional, just the snap of good luck that just sent all your senses going and saying, "Oh yeah, this is why I'm playing. Yes, I got it."
And of course, I also spent hours trying to do Rubik's Cube, and then one day I took the cube with me into the bathroom, and I came out with it solved, because I'd gotten a book that told me how to solve it.
Ah, yes,
So-
you solved Rubik's Cube, yeah.
Larry was impressed for a moment.
Whereas my cousin Charlie learned how to solve it right
Yeah,
away.
her cousin Charlie learned how to take the cube apart and put it back
Put
together
back
in order.
together. So,
The trick with the Rubik's Cube is if you switch exactly two pieces, you can make it so it's completely unsolvable.
yes. So you could actually do that too. I vaguely remember making it through Lemmings 2: The Tribes after a long time. Yes, exactly. And Roadwork says, and friends gave me some holiday special ones that had a few levels each.
Of Lemmings, yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that. Yeah, there was like a Christmas Lemmings.
Oh, that's
I don't think
cool.
I played it, though.
Made it after work. Okay.
We're behind a bit.
The best Unix. Yes.
Doric11 and Wookie Fairy mentioned NetHack,
Okay.
which is a roguelike, but I didn't get it. I tried NetHack, and what I liked about Rogue was its elegance and simplicity. So NetHack just seemed to me to be a little bit too complex, and too many different interactions and things to figure out that. Rogue had the sweet spot of it. Basically, had all the small letters were monsters. All the capital letters were. I don't remember, but anyway, they had like potions were colors, and they had like 8 different potions, and it was, each game what was a blue potion was different.
Yeah.
But once you figured out a blue potion, it was the same for that game. So. That was nice. It was the right level of just enough
Rogue, yeah.
randomness and complexity.
Yeah. Yeah, but when it gets too hard to keep track of things, it loses some of that. Let's see. Guessing they didn't let you set the seed back then, which would be the seed for the
Random number seed,
generation. Yeah. Yes. No, they didn't let you set it, and you never knew what you'd get.
Atari ST was probably 0 or so.
Let's see. So NetHack, a roguelike, is still being developed. Interesting. Last release looks to be earlier this year. Okay. That'll be interesting to see how well it does. And Wilkie says, I lost sleep many times to NetHack. Yeah.
I lost much sleep to Heroes of Might and Magic.
Oh, God.
Eventually I took all of my Heroes of Might and Magic boxes. I was up to... I think either the expansions to 3 or maybe the 4 and the expansions to 4, and put them all into a catalog box, and had my friend put the box in his storage space. I wrote a big label on it that says
Don't touch.
"Pure evil, do not touch."
Yes. Yeah.
And eventually I took it out, and then I lost a few more nights of sleep, and then I had to put it away again.
Yeah.
Sweet spot wise, I think that Heroes of Might and Magic 2 was probably the best Heroes of Might and Magic, and after that it started getting complex. 3 is pretty good, but 2 is just really good.
Okay. Let's see. Yep, I try it every few years, but it is hard and fun. Oh, good. I'm glad you're still enjoying it. And Wilkie says NetHack is very complex. That's quite fair, yes. That's the trick with it. Either, if it's too complex, it's going to lose some people like Corey and never caught me, yes. Valiant Cheese says there's so much stuff in NetHack. Okay, yeah.
Heroes of Might and Magic 5 really fell off. I went through 2 and 3 recently. 3 definitely was peak. Okay.
Good to keep track of, and and recognize a lot of you probably haven't played those games, they're still worth playing. You know,
If you have lots of spare time.
if you have lots of spare time.
Although you might not get as addicted. You know, the graphics are not as compelling as they
No.
used to be.
And the gameplay isn't as compelling to modern games.
But Heroes of Might and Magic, the campaign mode is the essence of the game. I mean, the single scenarios are okay, but the campaign basically gives you just enough story. So there's a little bit of voiced dialogue at the beginning of each scenario that introduces it, and then I think by 3, they had periodically during the game, the queen or someone would come in and give you a line, or you'd get a little text line that says, something's going on. It's very fun and addictive games. What Heroes of Might and Magic is, it's a strategy game that basically you have a certain number of castles or strongholds, and it's a building game where you get to eventually add features to it, like the mage tower to learn spells, and the different buildings that are breeding grounds for monsters or forces that you have
So
under
it has
control.
kind of a SimCity
A little bit.
thing onto it, or Civilization, I was thinking, yeah.
Well, Civilization, yeah. Although the castles are fixed. And then you explore the map with your hero, and each hero can have, a large group of followers with them. And you explore the map, and then you fight random monsters that are around the map.
Now, the map used the fog of war
Yeah,
category.
fog of war
it was
concept.
one of the first ones to do that.
And then the treasures, you can see a little bit ahead, but then you'd see, a real tough force of monsters between you, and you could, click on it or mouse over it to get an idea of how tough the monsters were. And you ended up getting completely wiped off the map frequently, and having to start over.
So therefore, yes.
Like Rogue.
Yeah. I played Civilization, not at all. I tried it, but I didn't even get into it. You played Civilization a bit.
I played Civ 1 and 2, I think.
Yes.
And I did SimCity.
And I did SimCity. I did have what was it? Godzilla came through. So therefore, I had a good experience with SimCity.
Yeah, it was interesting with trying to keep pollution down, and making sure you have enough fire stations and stuff so your buildings don't burn down.
Right. Yeah. It was
fighting the natural disasters. Civilization was a question of whether to develop on a warlike basis so you can defend your towns, or to try to build up the economy faster and try to balance that out. So those kind of games are a lot of fun.
Yeah, and Valiant says fights in Heroes of Might and Magic played as a turn-based tactics game,
Yes.
laid out in a small space like chess. So they were fun to watch, actually. I rather enjoyed watching.
So your forces have different speeds. Some of them could fly, which allowed them to cross, avoid obstacles and get across the board faster.
You chose what pieces you were effectively using in any given battle, and so yeah, it was there was real strategy involved. Yes.
Excellent, fun, and addictive games. These days, for several years. Okay, so the end of the adventure games. We've heard many stories of why adventure games ended. I used to say it was because of first-person shooters took over the industry, and they were cheaper and easier to make, and sold as well or better than adventure games. But it was also Blizzard Entertainment, because Blizzard came along, and Blizzard North developed Diablo, Blizzard South developed Warcraft, and then Starcraft. And we saw the writing on the wall when my son got StarCraft, and we stopped seeing him or hearing from him for a year or two, and came in, and it was kind of, what are you playing lately? He said, well, he had gotten the StarCraft Brood Wars expansion, and for the year after that, he was only playing maps that he could download
Yes.
for Brood Wars.
Yeah, and the custom ones that everybody was doing, not the ones from Blizzard so much, but it kept going because you could.
Yeah, Blizzard provided free tools for making your own
and so,
maps.
So StarCraft kept going and going and going, it had no end because anybody
So
could play. Yeah,
instead of an adventure game you'd play 1 or 2 months and then be done with and put aside, maybe except for once a year going back to Quest for Glory or something, StarCraft went on endlessly.
Yeah. So those things also helped the downfall.
So
of adventure games.
Blizzard's success killed the game industry, partly.
Yeah.
And of course, on the FPSs got up to Call of Duty, which was Activision, which ended up merging with Blizzard, so it became that was another great time sink for people who wanted action games.
Yeah.
And there just wasn't room for very many games when you're spending so much time with games that have so much depth.
But then again, it depended on your personality type, and I really thought that the problem is it takes a certain type of personality to play adventure games, and that is not the majority of people now that play games. So
yeah, back in the 90s, in the early 90s, Ken Williams was talking about how can we expand our market reach, and what's the holy grail of the mass market. And Police Quest was one answer, because Police Quest was completely unlike King's Quest and Space Quest.
But again, the problem was it was a thinky person's game. It wasn't action. It didn't have fire or anything interesting, so it still went into the adventure.
But at least it was not in the fantasy
mundane,
market.
because there were people that did not want
Didn't
to
like
go
fantasy.
fantasy. Just thought it was not right.
But the long-term answer is that people want action. They don't want to think that much.
Yeah.
And that's why first-person shooters and action games and side-scrollers and so on. Of course, side-scrollers have been around forever.
Well, yeah, but they are a genre that appeals to a broader audience.
So the answer is the mass market was always there, but it wasn't there for adventure games.
Yeah. Roadwork says, so much time in Civ 4. Felt like 5 was blasphemy, but for some reason enjoyed 6. All prior to 4 were great too. Ah, yeah. And Valiant says,
I've heard very good things about Civilization 6.
So many hours into the original SimCity. I loved exploring the shape of simulation by trying to build cities according to self-imposed rules and working out what needed to make it work. That's how we generally played our role-playing games, like Wizardry and things like that. We would give self-imposed role, especially with Dungeon Master. Certain characters could only eat certain kinds of food, so we'd have to go hunting for their food, and they wouldn't eat the generic food. So therefore, we put in self-imposed
and to kill the right kind of monsters, so we'd have something to feed them. So actually, when we were down up at my son's house in Oakland, the last day we watched some videos on future towns, something like that.
Yeah.
And it talked about new things that are being done, like in the Netherlands, was it? Norway, somewhere in the Northern Europe, that was basically getting away from this concept of roads and parking lots everywhere, and trying to make streets more walkable spaces and bikeable spaces. And
the interesting thing about that was they did the graphs of the parts of a city that are profitable
for
versus
the city, like
the city.
What generates the most property taxes.
Right. And versus what is a net negative. And you'd see these little spikes of downtown, even if the downtown was kind of run down.
Seedy and run down, fading.
The amount of people and shops and things like that really spiked up.
Huge profits. But then in these walkable cities, he'd zoom into a neighborhood that was not at all like a traditional downtown. And it was basically all designed with intermixed living spaces and shops where everybody was within a few blocks of things they needed so they could walk around. And it turned out that those spread out the profitable portions. So now the entire city space became self-sustaining.
Yeah.
So this is really about sustainability.
Right. And so the interesting thing is that it said all those suburbs are net losses.
They're by far the worst. They're horrible.
And all of our cities are going to come due because all of the maintenance and things are they said it was like a pyramid scheme, that cities kept spreading out And as they spread out, they get in revenue from the builders, which meant they could afford to put in the infrastructure for that. So they could build the roads and they could build the sewers and things like that. But once they stopped spreading, then those things started to wear down, and there was no new money.
Yeah, they were expecting these areas to generate continuing property taxes and so on, and they just did not generate enough property taxes to pay for themselves.
Yeah, so it was interesting. So you'd need to make an entirely new Sim City to go off the current data on how to make a successful town.
Yeah, so just a new version of SimCity, because they tried to have some of those things that you could, people tried to make cities that didn't have roads and so on, more railroad and public transportation and such, but the game wasn't really designed to simulate that well.
Yes, I remember when Blizzard games were in the Sierra magazine. Yes. And that game still has legs, SimCity again. You heard it here, kids! Police Quest didn't have anything interesting. Ah, yes, well.
That's what she says.
Yeah. And Blizzard outliving Sierra and Interplay, etc. is still so interesting. Yeah, well, their games appealed to a wider range of people, yes. Inouye said, when I first played Rogue on a Tandy, my friend managed to hook it up to a VCR, and we were able to record the plays of the game. Impressive for two kids. That was fun, yeah. And Wilkie says, sounds like you were close to being the first video game streamer, Inouye.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, if only you'd had a YouTube or something to do it on.
If only there were such things in those times. And Rogueworks says, woke. What is life without sitting in traffic in an F-250?
So actually, this game did not have a problem with, superhighways. The one that it complained, the video we saw, it complained about what they called stroads. That's a, what's the term for two words run together?
It's a portmanteau.
A portmanteau of street and road. A stroad is basically a road that is, designed to get you directly into businesses and stuff. It's not good as a street because the cars that are turning are constantly screwing up traffic. It's too fast for pedestrians or bicyclists.
But yet, it still has access to all the side streets, and so therefore it's dangerous.
Yeah, so it's dangerous, it's inefficient, and then the huge parking lot, so they showed like a Best Buy as an example, or a taco place that had,
property taxes.
Big parking lots.
It's got these huge parking lots which are not paying the property taxes off those. There's only one building in that middle of that thing. That is not efficient.
It's maybe 10% of the land.
Right. So we have suburbs are evil, as it turns out.
Yep.
Typical suburb layouts tend to force you to have to drive everywhere and for everything. Correct. Which not only decreases the population's fitness, but is not green. And it's a time waster. There's a good point. It is a real time waster. So, yeah, we need to make a new Sim City that basically has these new paradigms to how to create a good livable city and maybe make people to actually think about it.
So we have a bus that comes within a few blocks of us, but if we want to walk to the store, it's over a mile to the nearest store and down a steep hill and back up the steep hill.
Right. I mean, if it was flat, we'd do it, but it's all hill, so that doesn't work,
so we end up driving the groceries and such.
Yeah. I remember when Blizzard made games for the Mac. They don't get ported over to the Mac yet? I don't know.
I think World of Warcraft's on the Mac.
Yeah, I would think so. And Bill Kuhn says to Edenwave, did the standby have a composite RCA output? My Epson Apex 1 has one, but I have not connected it yet.
The Tandy, actually.
Tandy, yeah, okay. Valiant Cheese says, even if it's time, SimCity's mechanics expressed some things that were problematic according to the then contemporary civic planning sensibilities, from what I understand. Some of it was conscious, some of it not so conscious.
Yeah, so there's a little bit of message there about the effects of pollution and crime and so on.
But, I mean, face it, that there wasn't good data to draw from. It wasn't like you could go to Wikipedia and read these articles about it and do that. You had to make a lot of it up on your own.
And the first couple civilizations, had a lot to do with basically trying to keep your people happy.
Yeah.
That as you expanded, people tended to get unhappy, and you had to think about systems of government. But if you went to a democratic government, you couldn't keep a standing army, or people would vote you out, and so on.
Wow.
So it got civilization was you were going down a very narrow road to try and make a successful civ.
Oh yeah, well, our community is about to get a major sporting
Arena.
venue.
Yep.
Sporting arena. So I just when something like that happens, I think of SimCity, and trying to appeal to those masses.
Appease, put in your Coliseum.
Right, we're bread and circuses. Let's put in the circus. Yes. Let's see. Still no microwave power plant. Ah, well.
And where's my flying car? Well, it turns out that flying cars, really, or individual flying cars, are not efficient.
Boy, I'd hate to think of it, yes.
If we had gotten them, we'd be in trouble.
Yes, I think of all the drivers out there. Now, I also, when I am driving down the road and driving on a freeway or anything, I think of how many people are beside me, near me, and they're all trying to do the right thing. They're all driving in their lane. There's only a few assholes out there, but it is really a experience that is a communal experience. We're all having simultaneous play as we go down these things, trying to follow the rules.
Yeah, it's interesting because our society is really based on the idea that most people follow most of the rules most of the time.
And cooperate.
And on roads, they pretty much do.
Right. You stop to think about it.
You got people that are, trying to get ahead by, maybe going in the turn lane until the last possible second and stuff like that. But I actually read a study that said that cars doing that are actually contributing, that it's actually positive for overall traffic flow.
Is San Diego trying to get the Chargers back? I don't know about that, but we're going to get a
You're talking San Diego or are you talking Oceanside?
Yeah, we're Oceanside. We're not quite San Diego, but they are going to get a professional hockey team, indoor hockey team.
In San Diego?
In Oceanside.
Oh, it's Oceanside.
In
Really?
Oceanside.
Huh.
It's like, wow, that's really funky. Yeah, okay, let's see. Valiant says...
I just learned
let's go up to Edenwaith. Yes, Blizzard hasn't been bringing their newer games like Diablo or
4 Overwatch to the Mac.
Yeah, it was 4. Well, okay, I wasn't sure how fast I can read Roman numerals. Yes, which is very sad since they had a great history in bringing their games to the Mac.
Yeah, the problem is that the audience isn't there.
Yeah,
you're lucky if you sell 10%. Games on the Mac
true.
compared to a PC.
Yeah, maybe it's not same now.
And
who knows?
it's probably not a lot different, and that is the margins just aren't there. So it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to do a port, and supporting it is hard.
Yeah.
If you're only going to increase 10% is a pretty good audience increase, but if your costs go up by 30% to do it, it's not worth it.
Yeah. Valiant says the thing that always bugged me about SimCity, the original SimCity, was how it had to abstract away people into populace and ultimately abstracts everything down to land value. And that's kind of dehumanizing in my mind. That's something I wanted to approach differently in Hive Time.
A game you should check out on itch.io from Valiant Cheese.
Go check to see what he did with that concept. But,
or Cheeseness, I think, on itch.io.
Yes. Let's see. Still no flying cars. Shouldn't we have had those by 2000? I still think that won't be for a while, because even if we still have, in the next 10 years, we still have individual motors, it's not very practical. People don't think three-dimensionally, and so unless you've got controls and constraints in so that they are self-driving or self-regulating, effectively, if cars had a force field around them, a virtual force field that said, if you come into this force field space or distance from the car, then the other car automatically slows down or you brake. If that kind of thing was set into the three dimensions,
we're getting
in a
into
way.
self-driving cars, and in order to make self-driving cars, you really need smart roads.
Yes,
that will
that
guide
was
the
the
cars.
right way to do it. I mean, that was proposed in the 50s. I mean, there was a Disney film that's still out there that had roads with sensors along the sides, and it kept the cars into the proper distance from the sides and proper distance from each other.
But Lori's thought basically was mine up until the last hour, during which I've realized that no, if it was practical, it still would be a terrible idea, because air vehicles, trying to get a heavier than air vehicle into the air, is just incredibly wasteful of energy, which is, comes from various sources such as fossil fuels or whether it's solar or whatever. It's going to use a lot of energy, and it is inefficient. Individual cars are inefficient. But the layout of cities and stuff, you have to have individual cars.
Well, yes, clearly
So
we
far.
need to start thinking about redesigning cities on a real level, and that would help to have a model, SimCity model, that would teach everybody the proper way to create a three-dimensional city such that
But
it's
flying
efficient.
cars are, again, going back to that 1950s model that
Yeah.
that has caused all these suburb disasters, and except worse.
Yeah.
So we don't
Probably
have flying
won't.
cars because flying cars are a bad idea.
Valiant says to Blizzard, I kind of feel like it doesn't make sense to think of Blizzard as the same company anymore. It's different people with different goals, and I figure it's people who make stuff, not brands, and it makes sense to give loyalty to people, not brands. True, and of course now it's all owned by the overlord Microsoft, so we will see what happens come up next year.
I'm
Whether
told
these
that
things are
Bobby
true.
Kotick is finally going to be leaving Activision.
Yes, right. So these will make big changes.
There
are
will be
coming to
changes.
these, yeah. Still no taser equipped. It just popped up.
Oop.
There are no taser equipped iPhones either. At least we have GPS, which is great. Yeah, we definitely are in. I mean,
Taser-equipped iPhones make sense, because if you figure that iPhones are mostly owned by the elite, and yeah, I mean the elite ought to be able to
go around
shock
tase
anyone below them, beneath them.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, that'll be great.
That's a good point. I've always had the idea that drivers were terrible, but I'm probably just remembering and noticing the rude individuals. Yeah, really. You gotta think. You get on the roads. Mostly people are trying to do the right thing, and mostly they're awake. I mean, the idea of all these people, no matter what intelligence level they are, and that they're still managing to do something that our ancestors would think incomprehensible.
And most of them seem to think it's to their advantage to mostly follow the rules.
Yeah.
I just read a thing about Waymo, which is a self-driving taxi company, and they had statistics based in their first few million miles of driving Waymos, and they had 3 injury accidents and whatever else the statistics were. 4, I guess, injury accidents. 3 of them in Arizona and 1 in San Francisco. And they presented some statistics. And what's missing for all these, because, if a self-driving car gets into an accident, it's big news.
Yeah.
But what they don't give you is the statistics to say, is it better than normal drivers? And this time the article actually did that, and they had statistics on reported accidents.
And all of those Waymo taxi accidents were somebody running into the taxi.
It was all rear-ended. In one case, they had somebody was coming up on them rapidly, and they tried to accelerate to avoid them, but failed because the one behind was going so fast it hit them anyway.
Right. So
it's
so
like
maybe
they were trying to
we
be
could
hit.
get that. We may be getting it.
But anyway, their statistics were that depending on how you count the numbers, it was somewhere between 3 times to 10 times less likely to get an accident or an injury accident in a self-driving Waymo car than it was
Yeah, but
with
that's
people
still
driving it.
not enough
But
data.
yeah, but the other thing was surprised me was that the number of accidents of humans was basically like 12 accidents per million miles driven. It was way lower than I would expect.
Okay.
So most of the time, most of us manage to get through driving without terrible things happening, and that's, when you think about it, amazing. I'm kind of terrified every time I get on the road.
Cephalus squid. Well, I'm terrified anytime you get on the road too. So
Yeah,
we're
well,
good.
I've been
Yes.
in several near accidents that I've narrowly avoided.
Yeah. Cephalus Squid says there's a fair amount of work putting games on Linux. Mac OS isn't that far from Linux. Linux. If you have the graphics drivers that are Mac only. Okay.
Yeah, the tradition on Unix is it's always lowercase. And
Oh,
so
okay.
Linux is also lowercase.
Okay. And Valiant says a lot of it comes down to whether you know how to market to engage with the audience as well. That's something Blizzard had a strong culture of at one point. Yeah, that was a good skill.
I mean, from a game design, this is kind of a game design stream, so we should talk a little.
This is game design we're talking about, even if it sounds like real world.
Blizzard has been, brilliant in innovating off of other people's ideas.
Yes.
And some people would think that's a bad thing, but really it's not. Because, everybody, Bob Heitman I used to work with at Sierra and worked for us for a while at Transor Games. And Bob had his own company that he called On the Toes of Giants. And that was, I think it was Sir Isaac Newton who had the expression that, if I have succeeded, it is only because I have stood on the shoulders of giants. And Bob said, well, I'm less ambitious than that. I've stood on the toes of giants. And that's been enough to lift me up to a useful level. So that's what Blizzard is all about. Blizzard stands on the toes of giants. It's kind of also, stubbing their toes kind of thing. But they take things like EverQuest and say, a lot of us enjoyed playing EverQuest. Let's make it EverQuest, but do it better.
Yeah.
And they make it polished out the wazoo and marketed out the wazoo.
And take the best interfaces from other companies and other games, and all of those mod people that modded on to all the Blizzard games to make them better, and then they incorporate it in the game.
Yeah, so one of the things is just, how you find quests in World of Warcraft is, you'd get a quest, and you would have to figure out, okay, where did I get that quest, and where does it turn in? And they mostly handled that by keeping it close together, but eventually they picked up for mods the idea that they could have you could look at the map and you could find your quests on the map.
Yes.
And they always had the thing where they had the big exclamation point over a person's head to say they're a quest giver, and a question mark over somebody's head to say they're a quest receiver. But now you can see on the mini map and on the map also where those markers are.
Yeah, so those facilitators make the game easier and more fun.
And it started putting in arrows that would point to where your quest was supposed to go.
Yeah.
So all that stuff they picked up from players who modded the game.
Yeah. Cephalus Squid says there are a few companies doing just that around. There are a few around here testing smaller test cars, although they are more taxi than for an individual. And that is, really having. We actually, at our son's house that we were on this weekend, we actually took a communal car.
Oh yeah, so because he lives up in Oakland, which is fairly dense city,
So
they
he
have a
doesn't need
company.
car.
They have a company called Gig that has gig cars that basically you rent by the hour, by the 8 hours, or by the day, and you use their app to find one near you, and you walk over there and get the car and you drive it.
And literally, it's on the streets. It was just, up the block from where he lived.
And when you're done with it, you find a parking space anywhere in that neighborhood and park it and tell the app where you left it, and you're done with it. And so the next person gets it. So the car we had, had some scratches on the bumper and bird droppings from somebody who parked under a tree and stuff like that. But it was a fine car, and we were able to go up in the hills.
And it was a Prius.
Yeah, it was a Prius, so it was an efficient car, and.
So we could drive all around.
Yeah,
Buckland
Michael used
Hills
to use traditional car rental companies, but he hated having to go a mile or two to the car rental place center to get his rent-a-car,
and then have to leave it there, and then he'd have to get home,
and then have to get back home from there.
This is the perfect solution for that situation. Yeah. So yeah, gig cars.
Doesn't work as lot in spread out suburbs again.
No, wouldn't work here. Would work in the city. Yes.
Might work.
Cephalus says, and there was a testing a plane with no pilot in the cockpit relatively recently. Well, we have all those drones. If a drone can fly, then maybe so can a commercial flight. They've got to be slightly better than a pilot in certain situations, but just not necessarily. Durak E. says, I can play almost anything on Steam in Linux. Steam Deck has been a catalyst, but I don't think OS is that close. Last I remember hearing they dropped OpenGL Vulkan, which I assumed was needed.
Well, many Mac users use Linux as well on it.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. Our programmer, who I thought was a Mac fanatic, turned out to actually be a Linux fanatic, and just Mac was a convenient computer on which to use Linux.
And Edenwaith says, fortunately, not too many variants for the graphics support on the Mac. Not as simple as supporting a console, but easier than a bet of integrated AMD NVIDIA video cards, I think. But it also depends on how graphically complex a game is, what software is being used, etc.
Well, back in the 80s and 90s, 70s and 80s and 90s, you really had a problem with incompatible graphics cards. Hercules Graphics basically won the war on that, which was a high-resolution black and white card. And then eventually when the color cards came in, they were all incompatible with Hercules and each other, and it was a mess. Windows brought in the concept of drivers, which came from mainframes, and that basically each card manufacturer is required to provide a driver that would allow everyone using Windows to have a consistent graphical interface to it. So that has really helped the issue with graphics cards.
Cephalus Squid points out Blizzard is a relatively old company. Lots of the original folk have left. Yes, it has. I mean, it has turned over and turned over and turned over.
It's interesting that sentence can be read two ways. If there's still lots of the original folk left, or lots of the original folk left the company. I think the latter is more true, but there's some people there that have been there a long time.
Well, we just got back for World of Warcraft. We got Metzen back.
Chris Metzen came back, and immediately his stamp became apparent on some of the new features.
If you watch BlizzCon this year, if you played the World of Warcraft after that, BlizzCon came in, and they brought Metzen on stage, and I mean, he was one of the original designers on World of Warcraft, and he's been gone for 5-6 years now. And then he comes on stage, and it's like, oh my God, the Messiah has returned! Oh,
everyone cheered!
Bow down before the great Metzen. But
or Laurie Cole in this case.
Yeah, well, in this case, the truth was that he at least had a strong sense of story and history as the character, as how the stories were created, and that kind of integrity is required to make a good product. I would argue that many of the reasons why the current modern movies are not as well done, and because they have no person there that has that story sense, that has that history sense of what goes in, who these characters are, what this story should be, because of what the world and the integration of everything together. So
And it's interesting how technology and story come together. So the one of the relatively early expansions, the mid-expansion of World of Warcraft was Cataclysm. And that expansion was basically the world is torn apart, and one of the reasons that I heard from the development team that they did that was because the original low-resolution models they used for mapping everything, they took shortcuts on, effectively a skybox approach to most of the things higher in the sky, and they did not support flying. So when they brought in flying, they did that in the first expansion, Burning Crusade, and they did that on a different planet. On the second planet, you could fly, but you couldn't go back to the old zones and fly. So Cataclysm tore apart all the geography and put it back together in ways that allowed flying mounts. So they had a concept for scenario, but it also tied into the technology they had available.
All right, let's see. Mac has pretty much dropped support for OpenGL, yes. And
The Open Graphics Library.
yes, and not enough to define its identity clearly.
And those are changing,
yes. And then Cephalus Squid they became extremely money focused instead of a balance of money and product.
Arguable. I'm sure the people that are in there really care about what the work they're doing.
but the corporation became the power. When it was Blizzard North and South, it was the designers, the developers that were the star, and they were running the story. They were saying
they opened a studio to do stuff they wanted to do, and in fact, the early days of Blizzard, wasn't much fun. They were doing all basically gig work for other bigger development companies, and it wasn't until the Warcraft and Diablo became super popular that they had enough leverage and oomph to
and then for a
choose their own
while
path.
the Blizzards really were developer driven, but then when they got merged into this corporation called Sierra, the Activision crap, then the bosses were the important part and the game development is secondary, and so all the money was going to the people at the top of the pyramid, and everything below was no longer as important.
So Sierra merged with took over Blizzard, then Sierra merged with CUC to form Sendent, and Sendent fell apart, and the assets were acquired by Havas, and Havas was acquired by Vivendi, and Vivendi spun off the Activision division, and Activision then merged back with Blizzard. Or I guess they spun off the Blizzard division.
They spun off the Blizzard and Activision. Activision has been evil for a long time, so therefore I blame Activision.
Of course, they do Call of Duty. And
Bobby Kodak's was evil, so therefore, okay, fine. Let's see. Wilkie says, I don't know how to overcome my anxiety about driving, so basically I can't drive due to it. Shame, because it's so necessary. Move to one of these little move to Oakland, move to San Francisco, move to a high density city.
Or preferably in Europe.
I mean, my son doesn't own a car. I mean, only occasionally does he need to rent one, and so therefore he's gone for, half his life now. Really, all his independent time, he has not had a car since the first car we gave him got totaled in San Francisco on the freeway.
No, on the side road.
It was a side road.
Oh yeah,
no, he was merging onto the freeway. It wasn't.
No, it was a side road, and somebody. Rear-ended him, and the two cars pulled off to the side. Policemen came, got their statements, and then as Michael pulled out, the driver behind was impatient, rear-ended him again.
It was on a freeway, and that's why they were on the side of the freeway. And when Michael was merging back into traffic, the guy rammed him again. And the ramming the second time was what totaled the car.
Yep.
So therefore, yes, there's a good reason to have anxiety about driving. It is terrifying, really. Yes, I said, I don't need to ride roller coasters and things in amusement parks because life is really seriously terrifying. When our house in Awani had a road that would make people go white trying to drive down it because it was a cliff on one side. Yes, and of course it was rough and it would have holes and divots. So if you went fast enough, you were on a better roller coaster ride than anything you'd get in an amusement park because you could bloody well die if you did.
It was basically luck that I survived my college years because I was always falling asleep at the wheel. I had
really So-
same. I still have the same irregular sleep
In
habits.
other words, Wolke, your
You're
anxiety about driving is a rational, response to the situation.
So yeah, if you're in a city like Oakland or San Francisco, there's a lot of public transportation.
Yes.
There are buses. There's subways, BART.
Right.
So there are ways to get around without driving, and then there's always companies like Uber and Lyft.
Yeah.
That will give you
Right,
ride share,
so-
taxi cabs.
Right. So you
Before
can
then.
survive with that anxiety, and it's probably a good idea.
And you save so much money by not
Yeah.
owning a car.
Oh
You
my
can afford to
gosh,
pay for the
yes.
taxis.
And Valiant says it's a pretty safe bet that will happen to any company that gets acquired. Yep. And Cephalus says not even acquired as much as the advocates with power leave, right? For whatever reason.
We're back to Blizzard, in other words.
We are, yes. And many replacements are people who are there for a job or want to do business. Lots of companies go through that even before acquisition, or it could be, even past IPO.
I would not say so much for gaming companies. So, I mean, people who go into gaming companies are usually not making as much money as they would if they were doing the exact same work for a non-gaming
The
company.
developer level,
Yeah.
the developer level, but they get
But what?
the upper management level keeps
They're there for money.
gets built up. They keep putting more people in the upper management thing to make more money, and not on the lower management to the developers. So you
And
get
they
this,
don't tend to promote from within. They
Correct.
tend to get people that
yes,
have...
the other
management
companies,
experience
yes,
and-
the companies that,
Yeah.
that have run. For the longest time, the people that ran automotive companies were considered the stars of business, even though they were solely and systematically destroying these companies. They were doing this game of acquisitions, of adding more companies. So it was a huge pyramid scheme, and they were the star of the pyramid scheme, and that was the business person you wanted in with companies.
So, companies as well as cities, all about the Ponzi scheme.
Right. It's definitely a Ponzi scheme with game companies. That's what why Vivendi did what it did. It was acquiring enough companies so it didn't look like its bottom
Yeah, and
line
then at some
was,
point it discovered that it wasn't actually making money, so it sold off divisions
yeah,
to other suckers.
right, to other suckers who thought they could make money.
Like Activision.
Yes. Let's see.
And Kodak took over Activision and basically managed to acquire a company that wasn't making a lot of money and managed to get it to a point where it was making lots of money.
Yeah, well.
And one can
Let's
argue
see.
about the decisions he made getting there, but he accomplished what he was there for.
The percentage of game companies who are able to maintain their internal culture indefinitely after being acquired is vanishingly small, unless there's a huge swath of them hiding somewhere that I don't know about. Well, honestly, let's just say that that it's hard to maintain internal culture indefinitely anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Because the energy to create something on the game level is brutal.
And the systems that work for a 20-person
Yeah.
development company don't work for 200 people or 2,000.
How do you get and return a key for the gig car? Your phone. Your phone is the key.
Yep.
Everybody has one. Everybody uses it. It pays for it. It finds it. It,
Unlocks the door.
unlocks the door. How about that? Everything is, you don't need a key. It's pretty amazing.
It's all virtual.
Plus, it is run by the local. It's run by an insurance company.
Oh, really?
Yes, that was it. It's run by
That makes sense.
our insurance company, the
That's a boy.
AAA.
Huh.
AAA is the backing behind it, so they can afford to, actually do this.
That's
They don't
interesting. I
need
mean, we
insurance.
had a fender bender in Lori's car back in the spring, and it was a big deal to get it fixed for what seemed like a very minor accident. And this skid car, had seen better days, but, there's no reason you can't drive a car with some scrapes inside and so
Yeah.
on.
Let's
It was
see.
totally functional as a car.
Edenwaith commented to Valiant, very true, especially if a smaller company grows or gets acquired. My current work is the conglomeration of several companies, and it has been interesting to see things merge together over the years, including redefining probably the culture. Let's see, and Valiant says he hasn't been in a car since 2020.
Okay.
And Belzar says, get out of the burbs and you can survive on public transit. And that's clearly a warning to all of us. If you want society to survive and cities to actually be able to maintain populations and the quality of life that we expect out of life, we should all be living in cities.
We could, but A, we've always been spoiled, and B, we lived for
spoiled.
And we lived for 20 years or 30 years in Awani, which we did need a car.
Yes.
When you're out of the country, you need a car. And where we are now, we don't need a car. We could easily take the bus to stores and so on, but it's inconvenience of waiting for it. It's walking 4 blocks with the groceries.
Privileged, spoiled brats.
We are pretty much, yeah.
Need to learn that this is a evil.
Or just take advantage of our billionaire status to
right, yeah, if
live
we
life
had our
comfortably.
billionaires, right, yeah.
We
have always been privileged.
Our 10,000 air status.
Yeah, really. All right. With Activision sold off, it looks like EA is about one of the last original game publishers still around. Yeah, probably is, and it was always an evil corporation with a huge.
Taking advantage of workers.
Advantage of workers, and also what's the term for it? A sausage fest. I mean, it was very male.
Oh, yeah, it's very male-dominated
culture. So it may be one of the original, but it wasn't necessarily one of the best.
Foxar says it may not be as convenient without a car when going shopping, but you save a lot of money and associated headache. So yeah, I mean, a starter car these days is like $30,000 in the U.S.
Valiant's going to head off. Have a good one, everybody. Happy New Year.
He may have already left because we're scrolling down through stuff.
But we'll say Happy New Year. Anyway.
Yeah, it is extremely expensive to buy and own a car.
Yeah.
And you could easily use that money other ways.
And online shopping. Online shopping and that delivers to your door is really inefficient too. But if you lived in a city, it wouldn't be so freaking inefficient.
But even in the suburb, I mean, we could order groceries and have them delivered to our door.
So yes, we can live without a car.
And we've always been able to order pizza and deliver it to our door, but we're spoiled. We like our pizzas fresh and hot.
We live in a place that it's hard to give it directions to, but that's it. And Wilkie says, thank you for that validation. Yes, well, we think you have an intelligent response. Yes, intelligent response to a behavior that is dangerous. Yes. And everybody's saying, bye, Valiant, bye-bye, Happy New Year, yes. And then Bill says, remember computer armoires. I have not remember a computer armoires.
2 of them. He's got 2 of them secondhand because they're not made new anymore. So my father was one of the early electronic engineers and one of the first computer people. And
I've never heard the term computer armoire. No, that's the built-in.
Armoire is a bureau. It's cabinet.
Cabinet built.
Yeah, it's a computer built into a cabinet.
Okay, like the game machines, like.
I mean, we had those for mini computers and such, but not for personal computers. But anyway, so we had the discussion about getting a television set with a built-in VCR.
Okay.
And my father said that's a really terrible idea because you have multiple points of failure. Technology changes, and that VCR might no longer be the way things are distributed. In fact, CD-ROMs and then DVD-ROMs came around.
Okay.
And it's got moving parts.
Okay.
If the moving parts are much more likely to break. So you've wasted an entire TV set, which used to be $500 or more, in order to put that in. So keep them separate.
Yet he had one in here. Remember that little TV that was on the top of that filing cabinet? It had the VCR built into the bottom, and so it was a good.
He bought
theory,
one, but he didn't want to manufacture them.
Yes, but he thought they were a bad idea. Yeah.
But he did want to actually build a cable box, something that would sit on top of the TV and then let you do that.
Okay, I have heard of armoire. I knew what an armoire was, but I'd never heard of a computer armoire. So I will Google it if Corey types it in.
I see.
Yes.
What we did have when I worked for my father's company back in the 70s.
More. There.
Uh,
Okay. Thank you. Huh.
Yep.
Okay.
many
yeah.
pictures of. Let's bring up our desktop. Desktop.
That's just basically, like the computer stations that we used to, the entertainment centers. We all had entertainment centers in our houses. Yep.
Oh, that's a good one.
Okay.
I like that
Yeah.
one. Everything flips
Except
open.
it's not very practical because you can't get that the keyboard to come out far enough.
Yeah, we have custom computer desks, and that
Yeah.
some of them have a slide-out drawer, pull-out drawer that the keyboard sits on, and so on. They became less practical in the mouse era. Before mice, they were perfect.
Yeah.
Once mice came in, you need more space for it. So if I were to,
The only problem I see with the designs of those is the keyboard drawer has to come out far enough so that you have leg room under it, and I have enough trouble with my own computer desk that has.
I have a big old executive desk here that was my father's, and it's got a return on the side, or what they call a secretary desk. So it's got a secondary desk. It's got drawers on both sides that I mostly don't use, but it's got a pull-out drawer for doing bookkeeping and such, since that's where I keep my mouse. And then I bought a couple of stands from IKEA that I put the monitors on in order to have the monitors up higher. I suppose I could move the camera and show it all, but it's a mess.
Yeah, no.
Very messy.
Yes, let's see. And Bill says, I theorized that computers used to be on kitchen tables because there was no demand yet for home desks that could hold them. It is interesting how the home desk design has evolved over the past 40 years due to the shape and size of the computer hardware. Exactly. Who needs a desk anymore? You're going to be using your computer. And so desks had to evolve to support computers. This desk probably, this L-shaped desk probably predated computers, do you think?
Well, home computers
Home
certainly, yeah.
computers.
It probably goes back to the 50s or 60s.
Well, not that.
My
but-
father's probably moved it multiple
Right,
times
yes.
from house to house.
So it is quite an interesting system.
For ourselves, we mostly use IKEA desks that put together from kits.
Yeah, which have worked really well. Yes, let's see. Edenways, or houses that had a cubby built in for TV, but they wouldn't fit a modern large screen TV of today. Yeah, basically we've got.
We had a entertainment center
Yeah.
up in Awani that
That had our 17-inch or
it was bigger than that, but
24-inch,
23-inch or whatever TV.
Yeah, TV.
And then
The stereo.
our son
the
gave us
VCR,
a new flat screen
DVD.
TV, and it turned out that the cabinet was much bigger than that, and it was lost in it, and so we traded in one that barely fit.
All of the cords from all those things
All hidden
going
behind
there,
it.
hidden behind it. The stereo,
Oh God, the stereo basically ended up with about 20 cords because
right, and then the
it ran
the
to the TV,
speakers
and to the,
everywhere.
and to the VCR, and to the turntable, and to the cassette player, and to the
Yep. So yes,
DVD player.
entertainment centers were necessary because you couldn't possibly fit all that crap anywhere else. Yes.
And if you had any space left over, you put in your tapes or CDs.
Yes.
DVDs.
Yes. We had all our DVDs. All of our
VHS tapes.
VHS tapes underneath it. So, yeah. So we have come a long way since those eras. Yes. My house has some built-in back shelves, and looking at an old photo from the previous owner, those shelves held a TV back in the 90s. Yeah. Remember when you had a top opening compartment for your turntable? And my dad and I loved setting up the entertainment center and the connections to all the devices. Well, yeah, usually you had somebody that would do that for you because, otherwise it was a headache. As you can see, this place has built-in shelves for, and they're obviously.
Well, they're temporary, but they're not temporary, but they're
They're
built in by my father.
They definitely look homemade. Let's put it that way. Well, at any rate,
Wire framework with wooden shelves.
yeah, they're handicraft. Yes, exactly. Corey's father actually didn't mind doing that sort of thing. Jury rigging things. Very much a jury rig kind of person.
Yeah, he had basically power strips that looked like he'd built them out of scrap aluminum and such.
Any rate,
What do you want to say?
I would say that it's after 4.
It's after 4, but it's not yet 4:30.
It's not yet 4:30, but we could be wrapping up the concept and come back to the.
We could, and the miserable husband can stop, blowing his nose on screen and such. Sorry about that.
Yeah, well, said if you have any young kids around you during any time this holiday season, you're sure to get a cold.
Also known as plague spreaders, yes.
Yes. They are vectors of disease. Any rate, I was going to say again, to come back to our point, it's coming to the end of the year.
Oh.
2023 can be booted off the agenda.
Kick.
Or the idea of the cat. Slap it off the
I
shelf.
mean, 2023 has been both terrible and great for us. It's,
Yes.
Some bad things and some
Exactly.
amazing things have happened. So,
Like most years.
Yep.
It's got the best. But we survived it.
Yep.
All of you survived it too.
most of us survived it.
If they're watching our show, they survived it. They may be walking wounded, and they might be in serious issues and things like that, but they survived. Let's see. Teach your kids early to wash their hands. Yeah, wash their hands and wash their faces and wash their toys.
I never quite understood how washing your hands is supposed to help the fact that most of these colds are spread by,
Yes.
droplets.
Wear a mask.
Or a mask.
In public, if only to stop breathing in people's droplets. Yeah. Good evening, all, says Cosmic Void. Yay!
Hey, welcome. We're about to end.
Yeah, we're about to say, Happy New Year to you all. And
Do we need to drop a ball?
we need to drop a ball, but it's not yet New Year's for most of these people. Yes,
You got a couple more days.
they have tomorrow is New Year's Eve. That's for us, so that's about it. They either have it tonight, which some of you are probably like Valiant Cheese was having it tonight, and other of you are going to have it tomorrow. Yes, your hands are among the biggest germ spreaders, especially after coughing, nose blowing, touching your face and other body parts, and touching other people's body parts. Don't touch, yes. Don't touch, yes, you're spreading it. Yeah, Happy New Year! Yay!
Oh, it's a nice flashy one.
Yes.
What's that? That is a Enigma party.
We need fireworks and things like that. We could do a countdown to the next year for the purpose of this. But at any rate, I hope all of you.
Anyway, so the project we're working on is Summer Days of Feo's Adventure.
Right?
And we have some really exciting stuff in it. There's going to be a really fun mini game called Whiz Bang. That's sort of a cross between Pong and
Missile Command
Command.
was a concept at the beginning.
Yeah, it goes back and forth, but you're going to be casting spells back and forth and trying to counter them. And should be a fun, exciting. That's a real time. I think we're doing this as a real time game as opposed to turn based.
But
in amongst what's otherwise a visual novel.
right.
So exciting things. And that was. Are we actually? I don't. Okay, actually, with all the stuff that's going on, I don't think we'll make it out in 2025. I think it'll be 2026.
We'll see. I mean,
But we'll get most of the work done in
Right.
2025.
Yeah.
And then we have Sammy's story that I'm really looking forward because Sammy is a cute corgi, and corgis are amazing.
Right. So and we
Anthropomorphic
have a
corgi.
few things to get out to our backers, like the
Flippy book and
flip book, and things like that. So we still have some stuff to do for all of you. And so it'll be an exciting new year. I hope you all are looking forward to an exciting new year in the sense that is not a Chinese curse. But that there's going to have new adventures and new excitement and new games to play.
By the way, if you've heard that "May you live in interesting times" is an ancient Chinese curse that was entirely made up by science fiction writers.
But it's a fine.
But it's a great idea.
It's a fine curse. We'll all keep that in mind. It's
May
a
you
great
live
name.
in interesting times.
Yes. So have an interesting new year, and probably
And a lovely 2024.
right a better new year than
Full
what
of
we've had.
adventure, excitement, mystery, and joy.
And friends. Let's keep the
Oh,
friends, in
friends.
here because you guys are all our friends, and we've had a great time.
It's a good
with
thing.
that.
We could use a few friends.
Yes, well, that's kept us going this year too. So you people keep us going.
And one of the places our friends go is our Patreon, which I should link here.
Yeah. Speaking of
That was
which,
clearly what she was
yes,
leading to.
clearly.
If you are not yet on our Patreon, you should be.
Well, of course, most of these people are. And if you aren't on the
our Patreon.
And if you aren't on our Patreon.
And share it with your friends.
and if you aren't on Patreon, I mean, you should be on our Discord.
And our
And it's on
Discord
our
is
Discord.
somewhere. I don't have Discord
You
up
don't
right now.
have Discord. Well, you have a link to it on the bottom, don't
Do
you?
I?
You don't have a link to it? I have
No.
a link down there.
No, I have to close all my windows so I can
Silly
get to it here.
person, put it on your bar. Jeez, how primitive this is. You should see the
It's
amount
not
of...
opening.
Yeah, I know. There it comes. It's always slow. It always has to update everything. I mean... All right, there we go to Discord.
Okay, now we go to Trans Solar Games. And you can just search for Trans Solar Space Games to get to our Discord.
It's at the bottom of my
Or
things. I have to
you
go scrolling
can
through all the other
find
stupid
invite
things.
people.
Yeah, invite
Copy.
people.
Here's a link.
Here you go. You too can be
And
part of our Discord.
Discord. Oh, there we go. Invite trans. Is that how it works? Okay, well, here's another invite, but discord.com/invite/transsolar? Really? That should be Transsolar Space Games, so I'm surprised that would work.
Maybe it runs out of space.
Invites. Oop,
Unpin after. Oh, all right.
that isn't what I want to do.
No. Now you have to figure out how to get rid of it.
I can't.
Oh no, it's permanently stuck up on our screen. Oh well. Okay. Huh.
Pinned by. Not intended to be pinned by, but
Okay, you could probably unpin it by sticking on the pin, but at any rate.
I'm
That'd
just trying
be
to see if it
first, huh?
works now that I've pinned it.
Discord app
Continue
launched.
Discord.
Oh, okay, fine. Interesting. We never go that way. Okay.
Oh, doesn't work.
Oh well.
Probably takes me to
Because
where
it
I already
probably,
am.
yes, it probably does.
Okay, anyway, I don't know if
Anyway, if you haven't come to our Discord, you should. It has fun things.
Yeah,
it
the
has-
most important is the hashtag penitentiary,
Yes.
where we imprison puns.
Yes. Oh, somebody
Ooh,
showed pictures from
cookbook has some
Christmas.
stuff.
The cookbook, yeah. Oh, that looks good. Barf. Barf. We have a...
Barf has shared some other lovely pictures of food.
Really? I don't really think that's the right name for somebody that's going to share food pictures.
Oh, well.
But
Alas.
we'll go with them anyway. Any rate, so you should be on our Discord. That's how to keep track of what we're doing sometimes. At least it's that and the Patreon.
And I always make sure I post the streams in advance to Patreon and to Discord.
And then it's always fun because, you know, there are real
People
life
talk
discussions
about our games
constantly.
and stuff.
Even though, you know, you know, if you want to talk about something, bring your opinions.
And sometimes I get on there. Once in a while, Lori gets on there.
Yep. I do get on there too.
You read?
I read.
You're a lurker.
I'm a lurker on my own Discord.
Because
But that's fine. Any rate.
anxiety. What if you're not good enough? Depression. Everyone hates you.
Okay.
You too. The circumstances of one's birth are irrelevant as what you do with the gift of life that determines who you are.
How sweet. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Hey,
Any rate.
and 90% charged.
Okay. So, any rate, we want to wish you all a happy new year. I hope you have a good time.
Hope you had a good holiday season. Hope you have an even better new year and an amazing, amazing 2024. And we'll see you right here every 2 weeks.
Yes.
Every other Saturday, just to confuse the heck out of people.
Thanks for the stream. It was good to play this while I was swapping out the CPU in my wife's PC.
Excellent idea.
Yeah, it's
It is difficult to swap out the CPU in your own PC while watching the stream.
It is.
Oh, no, you can do it on the phone or something.
Not easily.
Not easily.
All right. Happy New Year,
Happy
everybody.
New Year, and we will end the stream. Farewell.